the advance of technology is based on making it fit in so that you don't notice it. So it becomes part of everyday life. By this quote from Bill Gates, I wish a very good morning to one and all present here. I, Arpan Shah, with immense pleasure and great pride, welcome you all to the Decoding Digital Leadership Conclave 2025 right here at XIME Bangalore. Today is not just another event on the calendar. Today we bring together thinkers, innovators, builders and future leaders under one roof. Today we explore where data meets decision and where technology meets transformation.
Before we unfold the exciting agenda of the conclave, it is both an honor and a privilege to welcome the pillars of XIME, visionaries who have shaped this institution into what it is today. Before moving ahead, I would like to welcome Professor J. Philip, Founder and Chairman of XIME Bangalore, Professor Anil Philip, President of XIME Society, Ambassador C.P. Ravindranathan, retired IFS officer and former High Commissioner of India to Australia, currently serving as the Chairman of XIME Kochi, Dr. Roshni James, Director of XIME Bangalore, Dr. Raja Gopalan, Dean of Academics of XIME Bangalore, Mr. Nishit Srivastav, Chief Technology and Innovation Officer for Capgemini India, Mr. Svetozar Besic, the Chief Information Security Officer at the National Institute of Scientific Research, Quebec, Canada. We also extend our heartfelt thanks to his wife, Mrs. Sadhana, for graciously accompanying him today. Thank you, ma'am, for being here with us. We are truly honored to have you all present with us today. I would now request Professor C.V. Ravindranathan, sir, Mr. Nishit Srivastav, and Mr. Svetozar Besic to kindly take the dais.
As John F. Kennedy once said, leadership and learning are indispensable to each other, and today's conclave stands as a testament to that philosophy. The world is rewriting the rules of business through data, artificial intelligence, and digital transformation. And in the middle of this paradigm shift lies a question we must all answer. What does it mean to be a leader in the digital age? That's the purpose of this conclave, to decode the mindset, the skills, and the courage needed to lead in a data-driven world. From competitions to keynote sessions and a powerful panel discussion, today is about how technology drives decisions, innovation, and impact.
Well said, Arpan, and today's conclave promises to take each one of us on an insightful journey, a journey into digital leadership powered by data and shaped by intellect. Whether you are a student, a tech enthusiast, or a leader, this conclave is here to challenge you, engage you, and inspire you.
The greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence, it is to act with yesterday's logic. With this quote by Peter Drucker, I formally commence the Decoding Digital Leadership Conclave 2025. It is our privilege to invite a distinguished leader whose guidance strengthens the foundation of the XIME group year after year. C.P. Ravindranathan, sir, Chairman of XIME Coaching. He's a distinguished leader with decades of service and strategic involvement at national and international levels. His steady leadership and commitment to education have been central to shaping XIME's growth and academic excellence. Sir, we are honored to have you with us today. We request you to kindly deliver the inaugural address.
Good morning. Mr. Nishit Srivastava, Capgemini, Mr. Satova Visic, visiting India, and giving us the good fortune to have the pleasure of his participation in this conference. Chief Information Security Officer, National Institute of Scientific Research, Quebec, Canada. Dear colleagues of the faculty of XIME, distinguished guests, and dear students. Professor J. Philip, the founder of XIME and the chairman of XIME Bangalore, have been very much looking forward with us. In fact, he has been associated from the very beginning with the hosting of this conference, in the sense of suggesting the broad lines along which it should be designed, and concerning himself as he does with all the details of the organization. He's been unable to be with us on this occasion, which he regrets, and we are to be making the inaugural remarks on his behalf. Let me, in that role, extend a hearty welcome to the two speakers in the inaugural session, both Mr. Nishit Srivastava and Mr. Satova Visic. Now, the topic of this conclave, Decoding Digital Leadership, where data meets decision and technology drives transformation, might suggest to many the high level of ambition the conclave has. Well, the fact is that what is being attempted through this conclave is a general review, what might be called a tour d'horizon of interconnected sub-themes, all pertaining to the transition of the world from Web 2 to Web 3, with the beyond vision of Web 4. Now, digitization is at the center of it. Digitization, in which today's world is forced, is a process of transformation. Now, we use that word transformation all the time, but it is just as well to remind ourselves of the thrust and inclusiveness of the meaning of transformation. I've read somewhere that the best description of transformation is found in mathematics. There it says that transformation is what happens when a geometric object is shifted in space, resized, reflected, or rotated. When one considers the range and import of digitization in human affairs, that is the sense in which the change wrought so far and to be wrought henceforth is to be understood. The evolution of digitization to the stage where it is now has incredibly, for certainly me, taken place in the lifetime of many of us. There has been automation of business processes in the 1970s and 80s. The rise of internet and e-commerce in the 1990s and in the first decade of the century, and the current era of cloud computing, big data, Internet of Things, and mobile access. With a big part of economic process having come to consist of digital goods and services, the onward course of digitization has moved today from basic data conversion to complex digital ecosystems, as well as how people communicate. These digital systems have, through digitalization, fundamentally changed the way businesses operate and deliver value. Moving towards center stage, today it is, as its catalyst and substance, generative AI transformation process. Its catalyst and substance, as I was saying, is generative AI, which deepens and accelerates digital transformation, which has been underway for some years now. The technology component of digitalization is termed as the most general purpose technology of all, in the sense of being pervasive, improving over time, and able to generate constant new innovations. Indeed, we know that the enthusiasts of the transformation brought by digitization put general purpose technology on a par with language, printing, or electricity, fueled by the power of computing, still benefiting from the phenomenon of the kind of growth attributed to it by what's called the Moore's law. It works through data analytics, sifting through massive data sets, providing us a simulation of the mind in its ability to discover, interpret, and share new insights. Data makes decision in that sense. In its generative version, it is bound to make deep inroads, although involving problems of structural adjustments in the short term, and indeed in several years to come. In its predictive version, it is less so, not only now, but remaining Cliff, what's the name? Do you remember? Who said that he would ask St. Peter, in essence, to heaven, why God made data applicable only to the future, why to the past, why was it not applicable to the future as well? That is the problem of the predictive AI, that when it attempts to predict, there are so many imponderables there, unknowns there, and to that extent, its ability, its effectiveness will continue to be limited. Now, it is heartening that in India, we have made impressive strides in digitalization. On the public infrastructure, we all know that we have the Aadhaar digital identity system, the UPI, DigiLocker, and the rest, which are part of the India stack, supported by BharatNet for broadband connectivity, and government e-marketplace governance platforms. With all this, in India and indeed across the world, we are going to witness momentous developments in the domains covered by digitization. Management will need to be redefined in the context of digitization now and in the years to come. And when it comes to digital leadership, what are the compulsions imposed on it? Since a good deal of the daily working process in our workplaces will be taken care of by automation and AI devices, what is left for leadership? Now, that is certainly a matter of great importance to all of us. Much as management processes need to be reordered, organizational structures to be reoriented to accommodate the changing demands of the market, and the skills of individuals would need to be refashioned. We would need to have a philosophy of how we approach these challenges and opportunities of the AI catalyst of digitization in the coming years. Much as we use digital technology consisting of data analytics and artificial intelligence across the large gamut of its applications, let us remind ourselves that digital tools are just that, tools. They have become and will continue to become more efficient, but they will still be instruments for managers and leaders. Even making the tools more efficient and purposeful would need knowledge and above all wisdom to figure out the kind of human intervention required in getting them to be so. Working with them and making them work for the human beings who operate them and who are to benefit from them is the ultimate test of digital leadership, where whether it is decision making, customer relationship, strategy, brand building, or management of externalities. Now, the leadership function in the digital age, in an age where we will operate with digital technologies, is first and foremost the skill of vision, or the ability to envision the future for organizations. Secondly, it will be motivation of the human material with which organizations work. Thirdly, it will be a constant awareness that we have to work with AI, which, as I said, is the catalyst of digitization today. Not only work with it, but make it work for human beings, rather than be subjected to the dictates of artificial intelligence and whatever other technologies digitization will bring about in the future. That is the test for leadership in the years to come. We should appreciate that from the time we train people to use AI technologies in our workplaces. That's what we try to do at XYME. Much as we encourage our students to use devices like ChatGPT, we would like to impress on them the need to accept the role of AI devices, or AI as a technology as a whole, as instruments for the achievement of organizational aims. That first, that foremost, that all the time. We can be sure that the panels of the conference will discuss these and other various aspects of digital leadership and provide much useful instruction and insight. Let me extend my best wishes for the success of the collective reflection on these themes in the course of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring address. Your guidance provides a strong foundation for the discussions ahead. We now begin our morning leadership sessions with a distinguished global innovator whose work has transformed industries across continents.
Moving ahead to the first keynote of this morning, it is our honor to welcome a distinguished leader whose work reflects the evolving landscape of digital intelligence and applied technology. Before inviting him to speak, allow me to share a brief introduction. It is my absolute honor to introduce Mr. Nishit Srivastav, the Chief Technology and Innovation Officer at Capgemini India, a distinguished leader with over 25 years of experience building his career at the intersection of technology, strategy, and entrepreneurship. As CTIO, who drives Capgemini's innovation agenda, strengthening India's position as a global hub for advanced digital capabilities. He serves on the Capgemini India Country Board, leads emerging technology research, applied innovation exchanges, and ventures operations, and is also a visiting faculty at ISB Hyderabad and other reputed institutions, actively fostering collaboration across a strong ecosystem of partners, clients, and innovators. An IIT BHU alumnus in electronics and communication, he brings an entrepreneurial mindset to every role, having founded, invested in, and mentored several startups. His leadership philosophy reflects this journey. Embracing and learning from frequent failures is more important than celebrating rare successes. With his vision, experience, and purpose driven approach, Mr. Srivastav is the perfect keynote speaker to help us understand what it means to lead in a rapidly transforming digital world. Sir, we request you to address the gathering and set the tone for this transformative day. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Nishit Srivastav with a warm round of applause. It's okay.
Good morning. So while this is cranking up, a word of gratitude to CPR sir before me. I don't know how many of you got that. There was a lot of wisdom in there, maybe not overtly put, but very, very deep insights, So really a powerful session, but difficult to emulate. I will try and pick on some of the messages with your permission, although it's not rehearsed. But as best as I can, let me just try and see if I can weave in some stories from the real world in the key messages that I give you. Also, a word of caution to all of you. While he was speaking, I was observing you. I know precisely how many of you were watching Netflix last night till 3 in the morning or on your phone. So some of you are still... Okay. All right. So, do you need me to do something here? Somebody talked about changing the world in my introduction, and here I can't change the display on the laptop. What an irony. Okay, all right. So, sorry, go on. But then, how will? Okay. This is not going to work, huh? So I'll have to share it with you. Yep. Yeah, it's taking time. Okay. Am I good to go? Okay. Morning, everybody. So, right, the topic of today, right, that I've been asked to speak on is decoding digital leadership. Okay, it's it's actually the subtitle that caught my attention. There's some stuff there which will pervade my talk today. So it says where data meets decision and technology drives transformation. The keywords there are data, decision, and technology for transformation. Transformation is not a slave to technology, by the way. Transformation's been happening for as long as Earth existed, and before we call that evolution. But when we talk about digital is equal to zeros and ones. We find manifestations of the binary nature in our very organic existence, in our very own biological framework that makes us human. So there is a lot of commonality, okay, in how the world's evolved, and it takes a special skill, a special orientation, a very, very determined resolve to become the leader, okay, of tomorrow. Most of us will be swept away by the waves that happen. A few of us are the ones that will ride it. Okay, so pay heed to the key messages. That image was chosen for a reason. You see, all of those scintillations that you see in different parts of the universe and in the water, were the far horizon. But I suspect you guys want to be right far out in the horizon, the confluence of all the possibilities. Imagine all the stars, the scintillations as data points. Some of them appear to be in a particular form. There's a galaxy hiding in there. There's phytoplanktons in the water. Do you guys know what phytoplanktons are? Great. Okay, so those waves that get created at the decision points. Okay, and therefore every sparkle, every wave is a point of note. And the idea is to conduct a symphony where, as you can see in the image, right, conduct a symphony where facts become oversight. Okay. Now, one of the very, very critical things as we go along, while the world's been working on discrete points of evolution, like CPR said just before me, right? There was the automation wave, then there was the internet, there was the cloud, there's AI, as we go along, generative AI. And suddenly, we find the emergence of all things human, by the way. So far, it was steely, it was discrete, it was everything to do with something that you can hack into a computer, right? But all of a sudden, in your course, you might begin to hear words like ethics. Have you heard of ethics in AI? Yeah? Have you heard of biases? Have you heard of prejudices? I'll stop lying. Okay. So you'll find this more and more, right? And the initial stages will be our best efforts at connecting what happens inside our body. So when we're happy, there's hormonal release. When we are sad, there's a hormonal release. All of these are chemical compounds. They trigger certain neural reactions that it makes us do biologically. You know what we do, right? So initially it will get there, but the whole idea is that the world is not going to be a system of only nerve centers or neurons. It's way more than that. Okay, so true leadership of the future will emerge at the very confluence of where many disciplines converge. It will be not just technology, but also biology, also physics. Anybody heard of quantum? Quantum. The universe doesn't exist in digital, by the way. Huh? The universe is quantum. We are yet to get there. We are yet to imbue those principles. The principles which are not deterministic, they're only probabilistic. Right? So all of that coming together will define how the world will emerge and how disruption will happen. Disruption is another word for, let's say, the sum of the sigma of disruptions is equal to evolution, you might say. Okay, so I liken this to a very amazing factoid about 300 million years ago, right? What you see as trees were actually giant ferns, and they were not biodegradable. Would you believe it? Right? So the trees were not organic material. They will just not rot. These things would grow, they will fall, they will go really tall, with shallow roots. Remember, there were ferns and not really deep rooted trees. Right? They would fall over each other, and another, and another, and another. Heaps and heaps and heaps. Before long, millions and millions later, geological shifts happen, tectonic shifts happen. Areas come under ocean, under seawater, pressure happens, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, how do you think coal got formed? Coal was a result of immense pressure of these non-biodegradable materials. But guess what? Your plastic that you see on the roads here, okay, at some point, one of you might be able to convert it into an opportunity, who knows? And maybe plastics will become interesting again. By the way, there's an enzyme that's been researched very recently which can actually decompose plastic. Right? Opportunities lurk everywhere. So that's 300 million years of insights in there. I created the latent powerhouse, the battery that the world used for what was known as the Industrial Revolution, responsible for eventually where we are today, right? A bug in nature, okay, which while that was happening and all was good, also realize that trees, by their very nature, what do? They photosynthesize, right? What happens in photosynthesis? What goes in and what comes out? That's right. So you take carbon dioxide in, release oxygen, and guess what happened? Earth became a place with 35% composition of oxygen in the atmosphere. Today it is 21%, right? Which is a stable thing. It was 35% or thereabouts, and that was a very amazing atmospheric condition for some of your favorite creepy crawlies that you've seen in Jurassic Park. They're called the arthropods, right? The big dragonflies, that big. The centipedes and millipedes were bigger than humans. imagine, bigger than crocodiles, by the way, because they, their body evolved over millions of years of soaking in the oxygen, and the body evolved to a much larger entity. Anyhow, that couldn't have continued. So you needed a mechanism because all the carbon was being taken out from the atmosphere, stored inside the ground on in the terra firma as coal, marshy land, etc. There needed to be a disruption for the continuum of life. The picture that you see there are called white rock mushrooms. Anybody heard of them? Anybody heard of oyster mushrooms? Same family. They finally figured out a method, because look, it's an opportunity, it's a storehouse. They finally figured there's something called the lignin inside these tree trunks, okay, which just refuse to decompose. A certain enzymatic reaction later, right? These mushrooms figured out how to decompose it, and that set the tone for a massive disruption. So what you see there is a very, very humble, natural way of figuring out how to decompose wood from there on, so that the very survival of Earth can be taken care of. So that also marked the end of the coal generation process, by the way. Okay, so coal happens in certain tectonic areas where it was compressed to a degree. After that, no more coal. Once it goes, right? And then these white rot fungus, they did whatever they did, okay, and basically started releasing carbon back into the atmosphere, and the oxygen levels down, which basically created the next disruption of creation of the rainforest, a new ecosystem which created the humans eventually. Dinosaurs, by the way, came about in this period too. Okay, so basically what you're saying is that the disruption is very, very targeted decoding of the problems at hand. Very elegant design, it has to be, and a very, very bold execution, right? So so this is the nature's way. Of course, you will be aware that I spoke about the three parts here, which will anchor most of what I'm going to be talking about today. Decode the problem and the opportunity, design an elegant solution for addressing that, and create the disruption that the world's waiting for. Okay, so now if you look in our history, you'll see a montage here on the screen of some of the most prolific innovators, inventors, disruptors, designers ever seen. I used ChatGPT to create this montage, and ChatGPT hallucinates. You guys know what hallucination is? Any of you hallucinates here? Okay, raise your hand if you don't hallucinate. What liars you guys are. If you don't hallucinate, where do your imaginations come from? The sheer power of imagination, the dreams. Any of you have flown in your dream or jumped buildings? You're bloody hallucinating. Okay, so stop lying and be, Okay, so hallucination, I actually do think is a feature, not a bug. Okay, we should be proud of it. Any attempts to get rid of it should be banned. But nevertheless, let's get back to the point here. In the montage that you've got on the screen, do you think there's a hallucination in there? You think something is wrong? Any one of those people? Okay, anyway, for those of you that don't know, there's Alexander Graham Bell, there's Marconi, there's Charles Babbage. All of these fabulous inventors created the first electricity, the electric bulb, the telephones, the electromagnetic things, right? And we also have a very, very special innovator there. By the way, bottom right for a reason, because it helped my animation that much better. The lady's name is Hedy Lamarr. Now, for those of you that know about her, you can go back to sleep. The rest of you, stay with me. She is an extraordinary exponent of the critical thing that I talked about, which is the theme of confluence. Confluence between technology and domain, nature, art, everything altogether. I'm going to find a better example. She, by the way, at one time, Austrian by descent and later moved to America, Hollywood. She was believed to be the most beautiful woman on the planet at the time. And she would go and act, and her van, the style vans where they go back to rest and do their thing, had actually a station for her to invent and do things. She was just insanely curious, and she would do things which are quite extraordinary. So I'm just going to play a little video, okay, for you to, let me see. If it doesn't play, then can't see it, right? Yeah, it's okay. We can't take any more challenges. So I'll keep going, huh? So this lady, she was married to an Austrian arms manufacturer, and therefore privy to and this is about 1940 or something, just when the World War started. And she would be cohabiting that space, evenings, social evenings, with the Germans then, the Nazi, the fascist regime of Italy and all of that. And she would follow all the goings on of the day. Okay? And maybe I'll just talk about this particular image. And in the 1940s, she read about this, she came into the knowledge that the German U-boats were capsizing, okay, big vessels. There was one with hundreds of children, maybe thousands of evacuees during the World War. And somehow or the other, they would never be able to find their way. They would get lost. These German U-boats would come and destroy them, killing everybody. Okay, and she was born to an Austrian. She was in that space, didn't like it. Nevertheless, when she moved, so basically she was also, she had a neighbor, okay, a musician by the way. And there was this thing, a special class of pianos in those days with these paper rolls, huh? You put this paper roll in it, the piano starts to play. Anybody seen that? Would you have seen it? A fascinating piece of music at the time. Nevertheless, there was some inspiration in coordinated, so you see the sheet of paper there, it's got a series of punch holes. Okay, that would drive the music, and the piano would play. Actually, you can look it up on YouTube. Fascinating. The keys start playing. Like harmonium, you do it like that. Then you would press it with your feet, and then it would play. Okay, she used this principle. Okay, she figured out that they're actually using some radio frequencies to jam the radio frequencies. Okay, so these ships and submarines wouldn't know what hit them. The torpedoes, okay, wouldn't go wherever they wanted. The Germans and those forces, they would always find a way to defeat them, okay, without so the enemy didn't know what was hitting them, they were completely clueless. The lady knew, okay, she used the principles of digital frequency hopping through this piano, okay, together with this musician, okay, and created the frequency hopping paradigm, which eventually created what we know today as Wi-Fi, or Bluetooth, or GPS. You see, frequency hopping is a reality only because this lady figured it out, an insider observation, a human emotion to help the world, okay, and working with an artist like a musician and her own way created something quite spectacular. By the way, she also later was married to an American entrepreneur. He was, he was an airline guy, was troubled with his, a great inventor and engineering guy, but his aircraft would never go faster than he wanted them to. They were called the box design, by the way, of the wings. So the video that I wanted to play was an observation how because the husband was pained with an engineering problem in aircrafts, she actually bought books on birds and fish, the fastest birds and the fastest fish, okay, and created something that drew inspiration from the peregrine falcon. By the way, that thing can, I think, fly some 300, 400 kilometers per hour speed at top speed. Okay, that created the new design that you see on aircraft today. The swept back design it's called, and today we are all grateful for all that she's done. So anyhow, so the inflection point here for us, okay, the modern digital leadership requires decoding emerging patterns, but also designing transformation systems at the confluence of technology and domains to disrupt old paradigms. Now, as we go down these three key themes that I'm talking about, okay, remember that change is organic, much like the sapling here. By the way, growth seems, all of us, from infant to today, we've grown those many years. I mean, used to be early 20s, I imagine. So we've grown, and similarly plants grow and saplings grow. By the way, at microscopic level, do you know that nature manufactures at the microscopic level at a speed that is today unmatched? With the fastest fabrication equipment on the planet, I think it was only just a couple of quarters ago that we finally have designed a machine, and that in the semiconductor world, for fabrication of chips. Finally, where we are able to match the speed at which humans, animals, trees grow. That is a precision in nature, right? It takes time to understand. Okay, so change is organic. Okay, disruptions don't need to be a whiplash. When you talk about disruption, it's almost like car hitting a wall. No, it's not like that ever. Okay, so the idea is that we will go through these one by one, so that we understand that most of what we're talking about is not just the idea itself, but the whole world around it. So those of you who plan to become a startup entrepreneur tomorrow, for example, we must realize that 90% of your ideas will fail. They will, and they have to. It's a natural reality. Okay, because most of you, well, those of you that were silly enough to go down an idea because it just looked beautiful, we created a solution for a problem that wasn't there. But other than those, right, you would have missed some very, 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 very small signals that you decided to overlook because the hormones were raging and you were totally consumed by passion. Right? That's the reality to the world. Right? There is isolation doesn't ever work. So your idea is only a very small fraction. We have to look at the whole world around it. So decode, okay, is the first pillar that we talk about. Okay, the principle of a leadership genome. Everybody understands genome. The whole concept of genes and DNA and genes, etc. It's encoded, everything, right down to how you look today, to how you will look tomorrow. Do what you can. Okay, it's already encoded. It's so precise you don't mess with it, but what you can do, okay, is the overall well-being. So appearances are facetious, it's been decided. The rest of it, the health part, right, the wellness part, is something that you've got control on. Okay, so between the two, the algorithmic compass and the leadership genome, is how you look at decoding any opportunity or an emerging opportunity. Most of the opportunities are actually right in front of your eyes, but because you're just so used to it, it's impossible for you to discern where the opportunities lie. Some of you will know that. Okay, many of you will create new ones. Did any of you need a T-shirt in 5 minutes? Yes, I did, by the way. I was there, gone for a board meeting in Hyderabad. And just as I was exiting my hotel to the office, the buckle broke in my belt. I actually ordered a belt. By the time I reached the office, it was there. It's extraordinary. But guess what? It was a need that was created for most of us. Yeah, and that's brute force. And then there's force, there's design, there's elegance, and all of that. Yeah. So a combination of all of that creates this beautiful principle of decoding the opportunities and challenges. By the way, like Sylvia mentioned, ChatGPT used as a tool. There's many talks that say that it will take our jobs away. We've got 85 billion neurons, collectively, God knows how many trillions, by the way, right? The best we have been able to do so far is connect nerves, and neurons, that's it, right? And that's not how life is created. Neurons aren't the only things that makes us human. Like I mentioned, there's plenty of things happening in the quantum world, which haven't yet been brought into the mix. Okay, so I would suggest you look at it as a co-strategist, a co-thinker. Use it to the hill to your advantage, pursue your own ambitions. There's a tool second to none. It's extraordinary. Okay, use it, but use it as a slave. It won't take a job away only because it will create far more opportunities than you can imagine. And we can see that coming. Okay, all right, so decoding, and when you talk about the relations genome, right, so you have to understand that, everything, like I said, about a human, right, everything about you, your biome, your chemical, your metabolic makeup, and all of that is just part of it. In an organization, we talk about it in terms of culture codes, right? So between Asian paints and the Dulux paints and whatever, or take any count of companies, everybody has their own cultural code. What works for one will not work for the other. So creating something one size fits all in a manner that so in terms of the design, in terms of the way you observe and look at the problem, you have to be sensitive to the variable nature, okay, of organization codes, of how decision making happens. There's ways in which certain projects that you come up with will get the approval or the funding or the sponsorship in XIME, for example. And there's ways that you believe might be the right way will not work, for example, right? So you have to spend some time on that, the whole decision making. You have to understand that from inside, okay? And adapt that to transformation. Right? That's the genetic code. And obviously, the idea is that the data is a gene editor. Okay, you have to build adaptive decision frameworks, okay, in a manner that it helps you evolve actually. One of the finest principles in the startup world is the fail fast principle. It is there in nature as well. You might have heard of natural selection, right? For example, a certain gene when it got edited, right, let's say created those 10 different frog types, each different color, yellow, purple, red, blah, 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 in different environments, guess what? The yellow one would die the first and get extinct. Why? Because that color was easiest to spot a predator. And therefore they don't evolve. The ones that are green, or in a verdant rainforest, or the ones that are, some other color in some other environment will find, and not just the color, it's the metabolic look at the whole thing, right? So fail fast is a necessity thing, okay? It gives you learnings about what not to do, and that is more pervasive and more long-lasting character building exercise, okay, than the few wins that you might have along the way, right? So a very, very important learning here. What you see on the screen, okay, murmurations. Some of you might have seen these, right? Thousands and hundreds of thousands of birds flying in a particular formation. Have you heard of murmurations? Or seen? Anybody? Some of you might have, but these are the big ones. Of course, then there are a smaller flock of geese and all kinds of birds that you may have seen. So the idea is the algorithmic compass. How did it do it? There's a magnetic compass, and there's the astronomical sort of the stars and the planetary positions and all of that. We can only surmise how that happens today. Some of the research seems to point towards increasing understanding of how that might happen. Well, did anybody follow the news about this falcon this a couple of weeks ago that was released from Manipur? 5,000 kilometers. They found three of these birds with a geotower, right? 5,000 kilometers, 5 days later, they were all in Africa. Okay, one of them, well, two of them arrived sooner, one of them the next day, all in the same area. How? They've never been there. There are things we don't understand today. Okay, the point being that there is this algorithmic compass, right, which we need to bring in, the whole algorithmic framework of decision making, which tells you where you're heading, but also you need to be able to query it with all of those things that might be a risk to a business. Okay, so that provides the guidance, and the first part we call decode. The second part is the design principle. Okay, so this is about the age of ecosystems and the symphony of algorithms. Age of ecosystems really implies, okay, and you can take a look at this. And I'm going to speed up a little bit here. Coral reefs, for example, they occupy maybe 1% of the ocean floor, and yet they support 25% of marine life. Outsized contribution to the marine existence. They are not one organism, they are millions, and that's how they appear. Okay, the nutrients from one forms some life giving something for the other, and so on and so forth. It's an ecosystem. And therefore the resilience to diversity. So maybe I can give you an example. In the business world, for a particular client, one of the world's largest energy distribution companies, they know that their business is going to get disrupted. It's going to happen. Because, the more and more all of us becoming what are known as prosumers. Prosumers are basically consumers who produce power. So your solar panels in your home, for example, is an example. They are talking about small nuclear, in nuclear technology it's not there yet, but eventually maybe an extraordinary battery of some sort will be able to help you capture the sunlight into a battery which can power. What will happen to the electricity companies? Okay, but then now we have data centers and many dark industries, dark factories, dark this, dark that. What are the things coming with the normal smooth power? Companies are buying nuclear reactors just to power their data centers. So they know their business is going to get disrupted. So they need to pivot. How do you think they'll do that? You think there are some very smart people sitting in a boardroom making decisions that will change their lot? Actually, the same thing happened with the BlackBerry folks, the same thing happened with the Kodak folks. Where are they? Netscape. Where are they? They're not there anywhere. Right, so what they do in this particular example is, and this is something that we do for them, the entire world from across the energy trading to distribution to sales and marketing and all of that. Okay, we track what the trends are in the startup ecosystem. The startup guys are the smartest people on the planet. They spot an opportunity and do it better than anybody else. We track them in 8 domains, about 12,000 startups. By the way, it's not a joke. Okay, and the CEO, the board, learns from these reports about what interventions to make, what companies to acquire, how to pivot their business, and what to watch out for, where the pricing models are likely to be. Yeah. So a monolithic, idea, I will do everything is being silly. It's the age of ecosystems. And the other thing that I want to talk about is the symphony of algorithms. Okay, so what you see are the monarch butterflies, and we've got similar trends in habitats in Kuru, in the Western Ghats, etc. Also, millions of them. Okay, they emerge every year, and immediately there is a transition on a particular day. It just starts. Okay, these are the carriers of life, of their very survival, and of pollen which proliferates nature, biodiversity, etc., in different ways globally. Okay, we don't know, but you've heard of the butterfly effect, haven't you? Yeah, I mean it is so evident. Have you heard of the keystone creatures, animals? The keystones, like elephant. They're the original creators of life, practically. Yeah? So, anyhow, so that's for another day. But basically, okay, it's about how do you orchestrate technology, people, and ethics into a global framework. And the takeaway is harmony is really, really important. Huh? Anything that is jarring, that doesn't connect well with nature in your particular idea, etc., if it is not connecting with the way things work, whiplashes don't work, remember that. Huh? All of these things are very, very critical to create what the next step is, which is disruption. Now, disruption, I would liken it to the current world. So today, the topic was about everything about data, AI, digital transformation, and I choose agentic AI as a separate topic altogether because it is going to be one of the largest disruptors ever, right? And the creation of sentient enterprises. Okay, now I have taken those two visuals for a reason. Okay, what you see as octopus, right, with its 8 limbs, each of them are autonomous. Each of them think differently. They do. It's one of the most intelligent creatures on the planet. We've only begun to understand it. It can solve puzzles. It can do all kinds of things. You see those suction thingies there. It senses things. It smells things. It can do all kinds of things. Our agents have agency, just like the octopus represents. Do you understand what agency means? Agency? When I ask you if you have, humans have agency, do you understand what I'm saying? It's not a gas agency, huh? It's the ability to observe, to learn, to adapt, to connect, to reason, all of those things that a human is associated with. You have to look this word up, huh? It's going to be one of the most important words you will need to bear in mind. You always have it, okay? It's just that you never knew it maybe well enough in a sharper way. The whole world is trying to bring agency into technology. Okay? So the reasoning, the chain of thought reasoning, and all of those things that you see in your regular query, this is how it happens. Nevertheless, the idea is that agentic AI is a very, very strong opportunity area. It will change the world as we know it. It is already doing that. It is helping us identify genomes. We, for the first time, been able to plot the the gene, the entire gene has been, for the first time, plotted. It runs into thousands of pages, which no human can understand. Therefore, you need technology to understand that. And finally, right, how many of you have noticed that some people who eat like that much remain slim, some people who barely eat become fat? Is that a reality? Right? There's some people who can drink half a bottle and still stand. There's some who can just smell it and just drop. Yeah? There's some people who will have those protein shakes and bulk up. The others, doesn't work. Right? We have to understand that our biology, our metabolic system, it's a very different receptor. One size doesn't fit all. Huh? So what works for one may not work for the next of you. How can you track that? By understanding your own metabolic framework. So it does happen, by the way, and those tests have come in the market where your metabolic framework can now be decoded. It's only very, very initial days, but I will tell you that when you eat the spinach, for example, that the iron that you've been taught in school that the body will get a lot of, never finds its way because the body refuses to absorb it. Your body refuses to absorb it. The other's body does, right? Same with routing, same with all of these things. The point is that you can create innovations, but you have to have a sense for the receptor, the consumer, and that creates that connect. Technology at that level is the only way to do it. Human mind cannot do that. As long what the human mind can do is understand the problem statement, use those technologies to meet an objective. Okay, so basically the future CEO, is going to be the one who will orchestrate agents best, agents across the value chain, across the functions. Okay, agency, like I mentioned, is about being active, proactive. It's connecting the dots. It's looking at the, and I can give you an example here. For a very large pharmaceutical giant, okay, they would find that, actually, let me give you another example. One of your favorite burgers, it's a global leader, okay, they had an E. coli outbreak in America, in US. Okay, they had an E. coli outbreak and they didn't know, right? So certain hospitals started reporting people with bad digestion, food poisoning, another. Before long, they realized that it's a particular brand, okay, which is the reason. As news spread, they were trying to figure out what was wrong. Remember, in the burger comes a bun, there's all the butter and all of that, there's the meat, there's all the vegetables. The vegetables are plentiful. There's onions, there's lettuce, there's God knows what else. Huh? Any one of them could have been a point of failure. They took weeks. Finally, they figured out that they can't. Anyway, at the point now, they had no idea. They recalled the entire batch. It cost them hundreds of millions. But still, not smarter. We used agents. They took us a week. We knew where the problem was. We deployed that insight for a pharmaceutical giant now. Okay, and we realize that the problems that companies are trying to solve are not all technology related or business process related alone. But a particular driver on a certain stretch, okay, who have a need to, let's say, somewhere, stop for a period and the food and freshen up, he would open the door for just those 2 short minutes, which would contaminate the thing. He wasn't aware, the company wasn't aware, and these medicines, which are destined for hospitals, etc., would be rendered ineffective. Right? So technology solutions, they're not about automation anymore. We're getting into an area which connects deeper with the human enterprise, about how we are going to go ahead. So nevertheless, so there you go. Distributed intelligence model, the ecosystem permits you to do that. Enhance creativity. Okay, so those of you that are brilliant artists or people who can create a very beautiful, sculpture, I don't know. Some of you will be great calligraphers, maybe, I don't know. You will all have a skill that you never thought was useful. Okay, my son, for example, excellent in languages. Since middle school, just went on picking languages like he's a madman, just would pick up the languages. Later also picked up data science. Guess what? Linguistics and data science comes together in what's called large language models, which we use as ChatGPT today. Right? Who would have thought that a linguistics person would have such high impact on humanity's life? Technology was always there. Yeah? So really, bear that in mind. Your understanding of your culture. Can you monetize your understanding of your culture, of your heritage? I mean, if anyone of you comes from, Orissa, Bhubaneswar area, that, where certain art form is, or from Bihar, or from elsewhere, or Raman, wherever, Hindley, would you be able to monetize that idea as a venture in your business, in your employer's business, in your algorithm? Because nobody else has that, only you do. Your perspective about that world is yours alone. So finding expression about your intelligence is really, really important. But here's the fun part. Maybe 2 or 3% of you will be able to do that. Rest of you will not even bother. But that's a reality. That's what creates the jet setters, the guys who achieve and accomplish and those that follow. Question is, who are you? Yeah? Okay. And lastly, creation of a sentient enterprise. We understand the word sentient here, right? Somebody say yes, please. Okay, so we hear about the intelligent enterprise. We do, right? Okay, so sentient is a little, maybe a little more emotion attached to it, but nevertheless, I'll give you examples of what it means today. One of the world's largest industrial giants, the stock price hasn't moved in close to a decade. The investors are tired. What do companies exist for? For the benefit of humanity, you think? Actually, no, shareholder value. Yeah? And while at it, yes, I will do things which are great for humanity, not the other way around, because I'm not an engineer. Right? So they decided that maybe they are in the monolithic shape and form, they become too big. They're into aerospace, but also automotive, but also medical devices, etc. Let us divest the company into three companies. Yeah? Now, their entire last 15, 20 years, they invested in bringing harmonization and mutualization of everything, in one place, and suddenly, now they have a need to divest. There are tax laws which doesn't permit them to share humans, okay, because when they lose taxes, there are certain whatever. The problem is, how do we retain knowledge within the enterprise? So you see that the Sharmaji there, who was just moving things, that knowledge has suddenly become very critical because they can't automate that. Okay, now in this case it's not Sharmaji, it's some Dave or whoever, that doesn't matter. But that's where you're heading. So we're actually, if you've been following what's happening in the world, from globalization, we're going to deglobalization, more sovereign approaches in the world. Okay, a lot of inshoring is beginning to happen. So a lot of more jobs will get created in many parts of the world. That also means that the benefits of very, very large scale homogenization, etc., will go away. It also means that you will need to capture knowledge in ways that have never happened. It also means that local culture and heritage are the signature of every single enterprise. So, for example, when you hear about the Tatas and the Mahindras as a business family, doesn't it evoke different emotions? The visual imagery in your minds? Yeah? So, so all of those things, which create your own differentiation, okay, will be brought in. So, just creating another e-commerce setup with a web store is not going to get you anywhere, by the way. Okay, so if you are planning on another grocery store because you can just do it better, I think we should just let go of the idea. What is really cool about what we're talking about? What is the ecosystem? Is there a lot of waste in what others are doing that you could potentially solve? Can you do that at an aggregated scale which is larger than the sum of parts? Right? Stuff like that. So you have to think in very, very different ways and very, very different emotions, okay, and create, look at enterprises as living organisms, have decentralized neural systems which are well coordinated, understand that organization will have its own neuroplasticity, and everybody will have to strive through adaptations. Yeah? So I can give you plenty of other examples, but I've already overshot. But thank you so much for listening. Some of you are I'm happy to take questions. Nobody planted the question either? Organizers? All right, thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Srivastav, for sharing your invaluable insights and vision with us today. Your perspectives on innovation, leadership, disruption in various industries, and the future of digital transformation have given us much to reflect on and aspire to.
We will now proceed to the next speaker of the morning, an eminent global figure in cybersecurity and digital governance. Allow me the honor of introducing him. We are honored to welcome Mr. Svetozar Vesic, the Chief Information Security Officer at the National Institute of Scientific Research, Quebec, Canada. A deeply proven track record in cybersecurity leadership, Mr. Vesic has been instrumental in securing critical research infrastructure and guiding high-impact scientific projects through robust information security frameworks. He brings decades of experience in building resilient security architectures and overseeing strategic security initiatives in both academic and institutional settings. A visionary in his domain, Mr. Vesic holds strong expertise in risk management, threat intelligence, and secure digital transformation. Through his role, he champions not just the protection of data, but its responsible and ethical use in research and innovation. His leadership ensures that cutting-edge science is built on a foundation of trust and security. We are truly privileged to have him address by us today.
Before moving ahead, I would request Professor C.P. Ravindranath sir to kindly come forward and present a token of appreciation to Mr. Srivastav as a gesture of our gratitude for his time and inspiring address.
Now I would like to hand over the stage to Mr. Svetozar Vesic.
It's okay. All right. So good morning, everyone. I don't need that. I don't need that. You don't need this. No. Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's a pleasure to be here with you, future business leaders, innovators, decision makers. Today's session will be about security or cybersecurity in the age of artificial intelligence, also called AI. not from a purely technical point of view, but from the perspective of strategic leadership. And my goal is simple. When you leave this room, you will understand how AI changes the security landscape, how it reshapes business risk, and how executives like the one you will soon become must prepare for this transformation. So this is a around 45 minutes talk, and it will be followed by a Q&A session. So let's begin. So we know all now that AI is no longer optional in cybersecurity, because this field has reached the scale where human alone cannot keep up. Organizations face millions of security events every day. For example, logins, transactions, application calls, payment or access requests. So the number of attacks is exploding globally. And India is now one of the top 3 most targeted countries due to rapid digitalization, fintech expansion, and cloud adoption. So this creates massive opportunity, but also massive exposure. And AI is the only way to analyze threats at a speed and scale beyond human capabilities. It filters noise, find anomalies, accelerates response. Without AI, modern security operations will collapse under the volume. So, what type of AI are used in cybersecurity? Several categories in AI technology, like first, supervised machine learning. So it learns from knowns, attack patterns, past malware, past fraud attempts, and past intrusions. Then you have secondly, unsupervised machine learning. So this is extremely powerful. Instead of learning what an attack looks like, it learns what normal looks like and flag anything that deviates. Third, the deep learning. This is used for complex data such as malware analysis, image processing, voice authentication, and network traffic clustering. Fourth, large language models, also known as LLMs. So these are models that transform the world of security operations centers. They help analyze and the logs and generate reports and correlate events, summarize intelligence, and even translate complex technical alert into business impact. And finally, fifth, generative AI, which simulates attacks, creates synthetic phishing, and support red team exercises. Each category that I mentioned has a strategic business impact. And leaders must understand when each one is appropriate. So how enterprises, especially in India, use AI? Banks, telecom providers, IT service companies all use AI to detect anomalies and filter millions of alerts. Let's move to some concrete use cases. For example, phishing detection. In phishing detection, an AI analyzes wording, sentiment, structure, and metadata from emails, and block malicious messages even before employees see them. Another example is insider threat detection. AI models baseline normal user behavior and detect suspicious deviations, such as unusual downloads, login at odd hours, or abnormal access to confidential data. There is also an automated threat intelligence. So AI continuously collects signal from the global cyber landscape. It identifies new vulnerabilities, malware families, and attack campaigns. And finally, automatic SOC workflows, which help analysts but also automate triage, enrichment, correlation, prioritization. Across India, enterprises like Infosys, Wipro, Reliance Jio, and HDFC have adopted AI-based security operations. So A for defense versus A for attack. This is an essential related topic. Attackers also use AI. AI is a double-edged sword. In one hand, it helps the defender detect threat easier and faster. On the other hand, attackers use AI to make their operation scalable and believable. For example, we have AI-generated phishing emails that are nearly perfect. You have deep fake voice fraud who has already caused real financial loss in India. You have automated scanning that identify cloud misconfiguration instantly. That means that executives must understand not only the benefits of AI, but also how criminals weaponize it. So where does AI deliver the most value? Which AI system introduces the highest risks? So let me introduce some leadership tools. The AI automation versus risk matrix. So here at the bottom right quadrant, you have high automation and high risks. An example, LLMs making decisions autonomously. On the top right, you have high automation and low risk. For example, phishing detections. On the bottom left, low automation, high risk. For example, manual identity management. And finally, on the top left, low automation, low risk, like basic email filters. So your job as executive is to determine where to invest, where to be cautious, and where to build governance frameworks. So how is India digital economy creating high demand for cybersecurity AI? India's economy is rapidly digitalizing. AI-based cybersecurity represents one of the fastest growing markets, predicted to exceed about $5 billion by 2030. And these drivers include regulatory pressure from CERT-IN, which is the Indian Computer Emergency Response Team. It's the National Cybersecurity Authority responsible for monitoring, responding to, and coordinating defenses against cyber threats. Also, RBI security mandates for financial institutions. RBI, which is a Reserve Bank of India. the growth of UPI, digital wallets, and fintech. So UPI, known also as the Unified Payment Interface, is the largest digital payment ecosystem in the world, processing more transactions than Visa, MasterCard, PayPal combined. Because of its scale and ubiquity, UPI is one of the highest value targets for cyber attacks. So the expansion of manufacturing automation makes India a global IT service hub. And cybersecurity is no longer a cost center. It is a business enabler. So AI is powerful, but not perfect. As you heard, AI can be biased, AI can hallucinate, can overwrite, misclassify data. So executives must be aware of the data privacy risks, the regulatory uncertainty, the vendor dependency also, the transparency challenges, and also the ethical use of AI, especially in surveillance. So leaders must balance performance with accountability. So we have to focus on strategic thinking, not technical skills. The leader of tomorrow must master the following skills: understand limitations. It's knowing when AI is appropriate or dangerous. Risk management, evaluating AI's business impact. Investment decisions, choosing between automation, manpower, and hybrid approaches. Governance is implementing controls, audits, and review mechanisms. And ethics and responsibility, ensuring fairness in non-discrimination. These are leadership skills, not engineering skills. Now, I know we use AI for your assignments. That's fine. But tomorrow, when you are analyzing a confidential balance sheet or a strategic acquisition plan, if you paste that data into public version, ChatGPT or Gemini, you have just caused the data breach. You have fed your company secrets to the world. As leaders, you must learn to sanitize data before using AI. As we saw, AI can hallucinate, and as you see, the Samsung case was one of the event that took place where engineers pasted confidential code into ChatGPT to optimize it so that all the secrets leaking into the public model. So do not paste confidential data into public ChatGPT. You are training the model on your secrets. Once you prompt, you can't delete. So in the blue zone, it's you. You have a confidential strategy document. You want a quick summary, so you paste it into a free AI tool. The moment you hit enter, the data leaves your control. It enters the public cloud. So public cloud, you read here, this is the critical part. If the tool is set to training mode, which is often the default for free versions, your secrets become part of the AI's brain. it doesn't just store the file, it learns the logic inside it. So in the gray zone, later, a competitor asks a simple question about your company. The AI, trying to be helpful, uses your data to answer them. You have just leaked your intellectual property without a single hacker being involved. So, as I said, sanitize, never put personal information or identification, no intellectual property into public tools. Verify. AI is an intern, not an expert. You are responsible for its output. The AI lied is not a legal defense. Treat AI like a very fast, hard-working, but occasionally drunk intern. It creates great drafts, but you must check every single number. If you present a hallucinated financial figure to your board of directors, your career is over. Trust, but verify. Why I'm saying that, it's for accountability. Leaders are personally liable. Under the DPDP Act, leadership, including CEO, CISO, CIOs, and data fiduciaries, carry direct responsibility for protecting personal data. This means negligence in data protection is not just a corporate issue. Leaders may be held personally accountable. So executives must ensure proper governance, compliance processes, and oversight over AI tools, vendors, and data flows. Boards are expected to treat data protection as a strategic risk, not a technical one. This is designed to force organizations to implement real data protection control, not just policy frameworks. The Act introduces some of the highest penalties in the world, scaling with severity and negligence. So the key points are the fine can go up to 250 crore rupees per violation. Fine applies to data breaches, failure to implement safeguards, improper consent handling, and ignoring data subject rights. This makes data protection a financial and legal priority for enterprises. On the privacy side, ensure AI tools don't leak user data. The AI system introduces new privacy risk, and the Act places strict requirements on how personal data is used. So organizations must ensure that AI tools do not transmit or expose private data outside approved boundaries. Any AI vendor processing personal data must follow DPDP compliance rules. The company must implement control to prevent unintended data retention, model training with sensitive consumer data, and cross-border data leakage. So the emphasis is on data minimization, purpose limitation, and user consent, especially when AI systems handle personal or behavioral data. So what we see in the future of AI in cybersecurity, there is some subjects that we will go around. So the next decade will bring transformative change. We will see For example, autonomous security operation centers. We'll see predictive threat modeling. We'll see AI based in the identity ecosystem, and also quantum resistant cryptography. In the field of insurance, an AI-driven cyber insurance pricing, and India is uniquely positioned to become a global leader in AI-powered security. So if we look at some of these future components, for example, the autonomous SOC, which is a security operations center, you see the workflow that is doing the work that usually humans have a hard time to do. So this autonomous SOC is logging and ingesting continuously from endpoint, from servers, from cloud services. And then the AI is monitoring and analyzing the data stream in real time to detect anomalies or suspicious behavior. Also, we have the threat correlation who collect related alert to identify true incident and reduce noise. We still have human supervision to ensure analysts remain in control of escalations and sensitive decisions. And there is also the automated response who can apply predefined actions, isolating devices, blocking traffic, or revoking access. These automated responses are very fast, much faster than a human reaction. So, for example, when you have an event and you have to analyze it, if you give it to a human, it could be minutes, hours before a decision is made. So, autonomous security operations center is doing that in seconds, which is very important not to spread the attack. So this model combines AI-driven speed with the human oversight. So it is enabling fast and scalable security operation. I've talked about AI-driven cyber insurance model. So how are insurance using AI to price cyber risk more accurately? So there is the risk data collection in which they gathers internal posture data, historical incidents, external threat signal. Then the AI risk assessment model analyzes vulnerability, exposures, and control to generate a risk score. And then there is a dynamic pricing adjustment. We set premiums based on real-time security posture rather than static questionnaires. And finally, the policy optimization tailors coverage and incentives to encourage strong cybersecurity practices. So AI-driven pricing rewards organizations that maintain better defense and continuously improve their security posture. So here you can see how predictive threat modeling shifts security from reactive to proactive. Again, there is a data collections gathers telemetry from logs, endpoint networks, external sources. And the threat intelligence enriches the data with global indicators of compromise and attack activities. The analysis in machine learning identifies patterns, predict likely attack paths, and highlights vulnerable assets. And the risk mitigation recommends or automates preventive actions, such as patching, hardening, or access changes. So this approach allows organizations to act before an attack happens, reducing exposure and improving preparedness. We also spoke about quantum resistant systems. So the transition toward cryptographic systems that can withstand future quantum attacks. It identifies sensitive data that requires long-term protection, such as financial or personal records. It implements quantum-safe algorithms using new cryptographic standards that resist quantum decryptions. You have heard probably that actual algorithms, cryptographic keys, are for now secure. And soon, with all the quantum computers that are being built, it could happen that in a few years or a decade, all these algorithms will become obsolete because of the power of the calculations of the quantum computing. So already enterprises need to look at the new ways to implement some very strong security, which is quantum cryptography, in order to be able to prevent breaches in the future. So implementing quantum-safe algorithm using new cryptographic standards that resist quantum decryptions. And you need also to upgrade your encryption protocols across all applications that you have, databases, all the communication channels. Also, there is a continuous security testing that ensure resilience as quantum capabilities evolve. This long-term effort protects today's data against tomorrow quantum-enabled attackers. So, to conclude, AI is not the future of cybersecurity. AI is cybersecurity. So your role as future business leaders is not to code these systems, but to understand their impact, evaluate their risks, and guide your organizations responsibly. So, thank you for listening. I look forward to your questions.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you for such an insightful speak on the AI and cybersecurity. So my question is, that what skills should student learn so that they can build a career at the intersection of AI and cybersecurity?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
What skills should student we should learn so that we can build a career in AI and cybersecurity, intersection of these two domains?
Okay, so learning AI is one thing, but putting it to work in your field, that's what you need to understand and to learn. Because AI as a general tool will always be a tool that you will use to make what you do better. So if you understand the basics of AI and you want to apply it to your subject, you will need to use it as a tool and as an accelerator to your work. How to do it? Well, you have to try many tools in AI. Today there is ChatGPT. Today there is Gemini and other from other manufacturers. They will all give you different answers to the same questions. So don't take it as granted. As I said, always verify the information that you are given, but still you can use it to accelerate your work.
Hello, sir. That was a very informative session. I really appreciate it for that. But I have a question for you today. What kind of cyber attacks are now fully AI generated to the point where it is difficult to detect them? So essentially, my question is, how can organizations detect them early?
Okay, so today I gave some one or two examples in my presentation. For example, you have perfect or near perfect emails that can be scams, you know, and it was easier before because a lot of emails were phishing emails, for example, were not very well written, you know, not some fault inside the text and some bizarre phrase turning, sentence turning. So today it is not the case. Today you have the text is generated very well, and it can fool everyone. It is very difficult to see the difference between a fake and a phishing scam and a true email. Also, you have the all that is generated concerning the voice and the pictures, the images, the video. This is proliferating now. This is very dangerous, and you can find more and more example of enterprises that have been fooled by, let's say, a telephone call or some other type of call that are simulating. Let's say the CFO, for example. And if you are a very big company, like 400,000 employees, you are not sure if it's the true CFO or somebody else. So Usually people who just got hired 1 week later can be, taken into that trap, and many organizations went into that trap and made a very dangerous transactions. There is AI in trying to discover these scams or these frauds, but also I think that for now, except for the speed of analyzing, human is still the one that can have this last decision and understand if it's a scam or not. You know that human is involved in 70% of all the breaches in cybersecurity field. So we try hard to protect all the devices, all the servers, the network, but nobody talk to human to learn them how to take care of, how to pay attention to the scams and all the traps that are getting to their emails, to their phones and cell phones in everyday life. Thank you.
So thank you for the insightful session. So you mentioned about the quantum threats, the quantum resistant cryptography. So there is uncertainty for the timeline for the quantum threats happening, right? So how an organization can balance both the cost and complexity for implementing or integrating towards this kind of quantum resistant cryptographic models?
Okay, so actually, many enterprises have some sort of protection of their assets. The protections, to protect these assets, they need some way to encode the data. So the assets that they have, which are digital assets, needs to stay encoded or travel encoded. And when they are traveling or staying, they, for now, are secure because they use cryptographic algorithms that are very strong today. So, for example, if you communicate with your bank, you have an exchange of cryptographic keys between your browser and the bank, and this guarantees that your data will be encrypted, will be safe, and then nobody can decrypt them, even if the data is intercepted, which is relatively easy to do. But what do you do with that collection of intercepted data? You can't decode it because the cryptographic algorithms are very strong. Strong for now. But in a few years, with all the quantum computing that are taking place, the powerful computers that are going to be used will enable your data collection that you just captured to be decoded in a matter of minutes or seconds. So now, today, you have to be proactive and find solutions to change the way that you encode your data. And this is by contacting, for example, some enterprises that are offering quantum cryptography, and trying to see with them how to manage in a few years to be able to take advantage of the quantum cryptography instead of the classical one that we have today. All right, thank you. Can I disconnect this? Wait. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Besage, for your insightful address. The perspectives on cybersecurity, digital risk, and the ethical dimensions of scientific research have added tremendous depth to today's conversation. Now I would request Professor C.P. Ravindranathan to present the token of appreciation to Mr. Stilroser Besage. I would like to welcome Dr. Roshni James also on the stage.
Director will be presenting the moment. You do that, please. The director, Professor Roshni James, will be presenting the memento to the guest speaker.